I stopped the recording accidentally because my mouse keeps jumping and I don't understand. Let me move my phone.
Is the lens dirty?
It maybe doesn't look dirty, but eh. I don't even know how to get in there to clean that properly.
Yeah. Maybe it's dirt on the lens or on the mouse pad or like a little hair that's stuck in there or something.
I don't know. It doesn't do it all the time, so I can't like track it down. It drives me up the damn wall though. Especially if I'm like trying to like make a thumbnail or do like an edit and trying to get something just right and it goes meh, and I'm like, damn it!
Mm-hmm.
Stop it! Did I confuse my mouse with Jerboa? No. Jerboa are way more adorable than my mouse. I have mouse gremlins. I have millipedes. I'm so sick of killing millipedes, y'all. I don't know where they come from, but in the last, oh god, week? No, it's been more than that. Last week and a half, 2 weeks maybe? I've killed like a dozen. All but two of which were, well, killed or found their little corpses just in the floor. I'm like, oh, okay. And all but two of them have been in the living room kitchen area. So I think they're actually coming through the door. About every other year, I have to get the maintenance guy to give me a new weather stripping along the bottom of the door. And that is not working. So I think I'm going to see if I can get them to get me a door that fits properly. You know, after all these years of living here, I should probably have a door that actually keeps things out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
would be nice.
just a random complaint about millipedes, because I find them... I found 3 last night. Like,
Ew.
it does sound like I need a new door. But anyway, okay, let's start the show, because now that's 2.5 minutes, so everything's clearly working by now. Ow, jam! Hello again, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 625 of the Mana Pool, which is a big number.
It is.
Awfully big.
Thank you all for noticing. I am Chewy, and I have the biggest numbers around. Unless we're talking like viewership or Patreon, then they're not the biggest numbers around. And I am the lead dork, and I'm the one that's always here. You know me. So who are these other dorks that are hanging out?
I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler, tangent master of the group. I was not here for a little while. I was here for the last numbered episode, I believe. But I have been in absentia. But now I'm back, and I feel like my numbers are pretty good. I'm happy with my numbers. Not too big, not too small, just right.
Does Carrie know about absentia? Just ignore me.
Thinking of witty response and failing miserably. So this is why I can't do improv. And then there's a mic.
Both of you. I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy. And I think I used to know what the largest number was, but it's pretty long, so I forgot it.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And in terms of numbers, I'm not sure of the biggest number out there, but I know, was it Trixodexaphobia? That's
Something.
always a fun number. Fun word to say that's related to numbers.
The first transfinite ordinal number is lowercase omega.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case anyone didn't know that. I like the way Mike said that, like, duh.
Well,
I'd
random
forgotten the official term was transfinite, but yeah.
random bit of information. With regards to numbers, if you had if you had a mole of moles, it would be the mass of a planet.
So wait, if you had a mole, the weird
If
chemistry
you had a
concept
mole of moles,
mole, the little
MOL of MOLE,
okay.
it would be the size. It would be the mass of a planet.
What about voles? They're about the same size, aren't they? Never mind.
Is this like the question, which is heavier, a ton of feathers or a ton of concrete? Because,
Well, a mole weighs about somewhere around a kilogram, so that means that a mole is 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd, and the Earth is something like 1 point. No, that's the distance. God, I had it at one point, but it's like times 10 to the 26th. So you're talking about between times 10 to the 23rd and times 10 to the 26th.
10 to the
no, it might be big.
24th.
10 to the 24th
Yeah, I just
is the
googled
Earth.
massive Earth.
So yeah, you're talking about it'd be like the size of Mars, or it'd be a gigantic planet of moles, the size of Mars ish.
That's terrifying. Never did understand moles. That's why I went into physics instead of chemistry, because you're just making crap up.
All right,
But anyway.
coulombs then.
Don't you start.
How about the gravitational constant?
Hey, I had that programmed into my calculator. As G.
Big G or little G?
What, big G? Because little G was not that. But anyway. So, here on the Mana Pool, we, most of the time, talk about magic.
most of the time.
Most of the time. For now.
And not letters.
And not letters or numbers.
Which
you
is
really
ironic,
want to
because
blow your
magic
mind.
cards have both.
If you really want to blow your mind, look up Graham's number. Or don't, because you might not sleep. But okay, so
Like on a bathroom stall somewhere?
yeah, for a good time, call Graham. Klondike 5, whatever. But yeah, so this is a conversation that we have been meaning to have for probably a couple months now.
Yeah.
And
we need to sit everybody down and have a talk.
like stuff kept coming up, or there were previews to talk about, or whatever. So it just sort of got pushed off, and today we finally got it. Okay, let's do that discussion. And then Wizards of the Coast was like, "Here's a bunch of D&D stuff," and I was like, "Are you freaking serious?" But that's why we're not going to talk about the D&D stuff this episode. We'll do that next week. So if that's what you're here for, sorry. This will be a way more interesting conversation, though.
And you can tune in next week for a lot of that, I'm sure. Because it's not like we're not going to talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what we are going to talk about is what I will come to your house and poke you in the forehead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So, what we're
I
talking
wanna get
about
poked.
this week is that strangest of magic cards. It's the set of all magic cards. It's a very bizarre subset, and that is the red rare.
Yeah.
Because especially red rare enchantments.
Especially red rare enchantments. And even though it still happens nowadays, especially a little further back in Magic's history, it's well, you guys have heard if you've been listening to us for any length of time, you may have heard of our segment Mythic Conscription, where we go back to previous Magic sets prior to the introduction of the Mythic rarity, and we get to red, and we're usually like, there's a weird card, and how we explain it? Oh, it's a red rare, right? Because it's this own special little flower thing, and how else do you describe it exactly?
Yeah, red rares, especially again red rare enchantments, are just where weirdness lives in Magic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was gonna try to come up with some sort of explanation and realized that I got nothing. Luckily, Mike came up with an explanation.
Oh yeah, this is super eloquent. Let's build it up and then let it have it.
This might
Yeah.
be the
Yes.
greatest piece of Magic design philosophy that anyone has ever uttered.
All right. Let's hear
Okay.
it.
So it all depends on what aspect of red they're designed around. You know, red rares that are designed around those aspects of like aggression and speed, they're usually so straightforward that you just see them as, oh, this is a good or interesting Magic card, you know, or oh, this is a red card with bigger numbers on it, you know.
Like,
Where it really goes
as
off
an example, like
Yeah.
the for the aggression and speed, the dragon, the one that like destroyed all the tournaments just a few years ago. It had haste.
I feel like that's happened a couple of times.
That's why I'm not being terribly what's the word, specific, because I can't remember which one is in my head. I see the art, but that doesn't help.
Yeah, that was the one that. Are you talking about the exert one or something else?
I don't remember. What's that one do?
That's the one from Almond Cat block where you could exert it to deal 4 damage to a creature as it attacked. So it was kind of
yeah, that one was
ridiculous. Glorybringer, we got it in the chat. Yeah, that's that one.
That's not the one I was thinking of, but yeah, that one too. Like there.
But yeah, you're right. It has happened again.
What's the? It's got a dragon with like blue lightning around it in the art.
The one from Theros?
Maybe.
The one with
'Cause that was
monstrosity.
also awesome. Yeah, the one with monstrosity. That one was also awesome.
Yeah.
What the crap is that called?
I don't know.
Yeah, but it had monstrosity. It also had protection from white. It had monstrosity when it got monstrous. Your opponent took damage for the cards in their hand, I think. Storm
Yeah.
Breath Dragon?
Storm Breath Dragon. That's the one.
Mm-hmm. That was really important at the time.
At least I think. Hey, Storm Breath. That's the one in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like, Storm Breath Dragon, Glorybringer, Ball Lightning, Ash Zealot. You're like, oh, this is a red card.
Yeah. And then things with bigger numbers would be the giant burn spells, like Urza's
Mhm.
Rage.
Yeah, Urza's Rage, or Volley of Boulders. They can't all be winners. But stuff like that.
Aw.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's just weird. Where they go off the deep end is when the card is being designed around either the aspects of chaos and unpredictability or impulse and short-sightedness, as well as when they're doing some kind of experiment with resource usage and card advantage that they're doing to explore what red can do that the other colors can't or won't.
Yeah.
That's when you get the good stuff.
Good. Yes. That is when you get the stuff. Some of which is really interesting, and some of which is just like, why?
Yeah. Like, I'll make a call back to one specifically that's just super awesome in its weirdness. Bludgeon Brawl. You remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah, for 2 and a red, it's a red rare enchantment back from New Phyrexia. Each non-creature, non-equipment artifact is an equipment with equip X, and the rules and the ability equipped creature gets +X+0, where X is that artifact's converted mana cost.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? Here I was earlier saying, "Oh, you got to go back a little ways," but that is much more modern than a lot of the cards on my list. And there you go. And you get what it's trying to do,
Hmm.
and the flavor is awesome. But wow, is that just wow?
Yep.
That is that.
Let's just start picking up icy manipulators and beating each other with them. You know.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds like a plan. Funk. Improvised weapon. Woo! So the red rare is this really special, unique creature, and sometimes I honestly think they can be really cool and really powerful, but they also can be they can fill that niche. A lot of we could almost do a segment, maybe we will in the future, about blue rares, especially from early Magic, because the designers, I was not there, but some of the designs you have to go like, all right, did they just go? This is a magic effect. Therefore, let's put it in blue, right? Because blue is aether and all that. Even though the whole game is magic, this is
Hmm.
a magic thing, so it's in blue. So blue gets really weird stuff like is it psionic blast,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But red is more feels more like they literally didn't know where else to put it sometimes. Um, and like you said with Bludgeon Brawl, clearly they're like people picking up things and hitting them with each other. But other times it's like I don't even get what this is supposed to represent. Chaos is one thing, and
Hmm.
one of the cards on my list that I want to talk about, and let me pull it up on Gather to make sure I get the listing, the words right, is Grip of Chaos, because this is a red rare right here. It's from Scourge for 4 and 2 red. And oh, look, it's an enchantment. Whenever a spell or ability is put onto the stack, if it has a single target, reselect its target at random. And I love how the art has this cyclone with a hole in it and a goblin that's been petrified is falling apart, and there's a elemental that usually or the wizard in Scourge, the wizards kind of became more and more elemental like, and they're blue, but this is clearly red because things are crazy. So this is almost like the embodiment of the red rare. Now, this is not necessarily a bad card, and there are some bad red rare, right? I mean, we can all agree some of these are just straight up bad,
Hmm.
but and this can be bad. Usually, if you see Grip of Chaos, it's there for a reason, but it does embody a lot of this like wacky, crazy, chaos because it's it's the Grip of Chaos. So
God, this is one of those cards that if they had printed this new today, I would point at it and go, see? They're pushing more towards digital gameplay design. Because reselecting a target at random is so much easier in
it
like
is.
Arena or Magic Online than it is when you're playing, a 5 or 6 player commander game. Well,
Hmm.
Yeah.
back in the day when this was new, a 5 or 6 player Magic game where there could be 50 permanents that it could target.
You heard it here, folks. Grip of Chaos in historic, whatever their historic update or whatever. Next time. Let's do it. But this card, I don't think is even in modern. It has not been reprinted since Scourge. So,
Yeah,
all
thank
right, Grip of
goodness.
Chaos for modern. Woo! Pushing it. But yeah, yeah. Keep in mind, I guess Magic Online did exist at the time. I think Magic Online came out somewhere around Torment or Judgment, but was not did not nearly have the numbers of Flesh and Blood Magic at the time. So I like how it's got 4.5 stars out of 5. No, sorry, that's 3.5 stars out of 5. First comment. Ah, yeah, I love it.
Oh, the first
So,
comment is Eye of the Storm, Hive Mind, Cast Through Time, Radiate, Confusion in the
oh,
Ranks.
I missed that. My eye went straight to all the A's. Sorry.
Yeah, that makes me. All right, we're closing that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Hey, Dirk, what's a red rare you remember from your past, back when we used to play, Magic in person before the end times?
Well, I'm going back to my binder
Hmm.
also, and unfortunately, most of the stuff that I thought was kind of weird and wacky and everything probably falls into the original category of that's really good and not it's probably not crazy to you guys, but to
Well,
me,
try it.
I thought was crazy. Insurrection's the one that comes to mind to me because it's a random card that says, "Yeah, all of your stuff belongs to me now." And that strikes me as I would think a blue ability to be like, I'm gonna take control of your stuff, but no, it's a red card.
Well,
Where
it's
you,
Yeah,
only
because it's temporary. And
yeah.
that's one of those examples of, okay, this red rare is just going to be a red card cranked up as far as possible.
This is active treason or at the time threaten, but for everything. It's think of like a lightning card that does lightning bolt, but on everything. So yeah.
and
So I mean, it is a big, stupidly expensive red card, and as much as I love Insurrection, there are times where you draw it and you either draw it way too early, or you draw it and it's immediately after a board wipe. But I remember I got one of the first sets I ever got a box of was Onslaught, and I got like 4 or 5 Insurrections, so they started going in all the decks. And in multiplayer, that turned out to be I think a pretty solid move, because usually it's like, all right,
yeah, it has a special place in my heart because I'm pretty sure Brian, we like there were I had again during Onslaught I was playing beasts and big lots and lots of creatures, and Brian played the Insurrection, and when I read what it did, I thought, oh no,
all your
I
elves
am
are belong
definitely
to
dead.
me.
Uh,
Yes.
I mean, there were
Another
many, many, many of our college multiplayer games that ended with a nice insurrection.
Yeah. So red rares don't have to be bad, but
But it
that
helps. Wait, no.
yeah. Chewy, was there one that you kind of had in mind? I know you
Oh
didn't.
yeah, I've actually been going through the list of red rares and opening up separate windows. How about
Okay.
confusion in the ranks?
Uh, that one was not on my list,
hmm.
but I think I looked at it for just a minute. You want to talk
Confusion.
about Grip of Chaos?
Yeah,
Yeah.
confusion in the ranks for 3 red is a red rare enchantment from Mirrodin. It says whenever an artifact, creature, or enchantment enters the battlefield, its controller chooses target permanent another player controls that shares a card type with it. Exchange control of those permanents.
Yeah. So every time one of those things, bless you,
Ouch.
comes onto the battlefield, it goes to somebody else, but you get something back. I remember seeing this card, and I remember Grip of Chaos came out in Scourge. There was
Yep.
Scourge, and then there was Eighth Edition, and then Mirrodin. And for one hot minute, I had both of these cards in a deck, and it was dumb. It was glorious and dumb, and just like I think I played one game because confusion in the ranks meant nobody got their stuff ever, ever. And ordinarily I like that. Hello, shared fate. But this is turned up to like 11, and then you throw in Grip of Chaos, and it's like, wee, nothing matters anymore.
Yeah, confusion in the ranks is one of those what what I like to call I don't really have a name for them, but in my brain they're like mass disruption.
Yeah,
Hmm.
They're in my head they're dickhead cards. Like
well,
not to
yeah,
put too
they're
fine a point on it, but you play cards like confusion in the ranks when you just want to screw with your opponents.
like Third Armageddon, Humility, going up to bed, kind of screw with people.
I'm pretty sure AJ did play with Confusion in the Ranks at some point, but and yes, that is exactly what I was thinking.
Well, yeah. White gets the symmetrical effects as well, but the red ones do seem to be a little, I don't know, a little more below the belt. Is it? There was one Anarchy. I was looking at Anarchy earlier. Oh, that's like for 2 and 2 red, destroy all white permanents. Just
Yeah,
go
that's
away.
just one of the
yeah.
old school hate
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah, hate cards is used to be, game over.
Yeah.
But there's another flavor of red card that I wanted to talk about real quick, if you guys don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
I've
No.
got two. I got two examples. Ashling's Prerogative is one. For 1 in a red, it's an enchantment from Lorwyn. As Ashling's Prerogative enters the battlefield, choose odd or even. Each creature with mana value of the chosen quality has haste, and each creature without mana value of the chosen quality enters the battlefield tapped.
Right.
So you're picking whatever works best for you and screws your opponent, but it's still dealing with an intrinsic quality of a magic card that you can't change.
Yeah.
Which, okay, that's cool. You can totally build your deck around this if you so chose, and have all one or the other, and so it's all upside for you and partial, only partial upside for your opponent, but they also get some downside, which you don't get. But then the other one that struck me as built along similar lines is way older. It's Chaos Lord.
Yes. He was totally on my list. He had to be, because yes.
So from Ice Age is a creature human. Wow. For 4 and 3 red, it's a 7/7 with first strike. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent gains control of Chaos Lord if the number of permanents is even.
Just permanents on the battlefield. Yeah.
Yeah. And Chaos Lord can attack as though it had haste unless it entered the battlefield this turn. So you can't play it and swing with it, but whoever gets it can swing. And if you get it back, you can swing with it.
I have never understood why it has that text or when it ever becomes relevant.
Oh, because it's
a
your
7/7. Because at 7/7 for 7 mana, Mike, that's just too good. That's too good for Ice Age Magic, and you would just play this out like the best ball lightning ever, and who cares if somebody else got it? I love
No. Like I don't understand why that sentence just isn't just completely removed from the card, because I can't understand how it would ever get haste in a way that is meaningful.
Yeah, because it waits until its controller's upkeep to change, which means either it's going to be able to attack already because it's their upkeep and they've had it since the beginning of the turn, or it's going to someone else and it's not their turn and they can't attack.
I like how in the old school version of the card, you read the Oracle text, but on the printed card, it actually instructs you. It says during your upkeep, because a lot of that stuff had during your upkeep instead of triggering at the beginning. But during your upkeep, count the number of permanents. If that number is even, target opponent gains control of Chaos Lord. So they had to spell it, all right, now count. And here it just says target opponent gains control of it if the number of permanents is even. Did you count to get that? How did you assume? I like how the earlier card just told you what to do. I love Chaos Lord. Hey, I have to give a honorable mention to a red rare that is technically red, but is also other colors.
Wait, hang on. Now that Mike has pointed out that whole chunk of text on Chaos Lord doesn't make any sense, I can't stop thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Like, is it meant to just make it like even worse against control magic? I have no idea.
Oh, okay. It could be a drawback to keep other people from snatching it. Okay.
I wouldn't think too hard about this. It's Chaos Lord, man. Just embrace it.
Wait, no, that would make it better with control magic.
Yeah.
What the hell?
No.
Wait,
Uh, it's not a red rare if it doesn't old school red rare if it doesn't have some almost completely extraneous text. Am I right?
Wha-
I mean, come on.
what? Okay, so Brian, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say this wasn't on my list, but is Corona False God not the most reddest rare that's also other colors that you've ever seen in your entire life?
Correct.
Because it really reminds, first of all, coming right off of Chaos Lord, it has a similar feel to it. For one, in a Wooburg, it's a 5/5 legendary avatar, I think now.
Yep.
It's got haste, and that's even if it enters the battlefield this turn. But at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps Corona False God and gains control of it. Whenever Corona attacks creatures of the creature type of your choice get +3/+3 until end of turn. And you might go, oh, that's kind of neat. Try playing with this. Trust me, I've tried. This thing is infamous. And as one of the first Wooburg, not Urborg, Wooburg commanders, maybe it would still see some play, but this is rough. And this is some red rares, like I was just talking about Chaos Lord. They have limitations on them to keep them from getting too crazy. So this feels a little like, oh, everybody gets to have it. And it kind of lined up with the story because in the story she was basically forcing all the nations to like fight each other. But it's even as a guy who loves drawbacks on magic cards because they force you to get creative, this is a bit much. So,
Yeah.
especially at the end of a block where tribal was hammered home with a sledgehammer. So,
And also the fact that this was like the merging of two of the most awesome magic cards ever at that point.
yeah,
Like Phage, who had Death Touch for players, what? And
Yeah.
Akroma, who was just amazing. And then they come together to
turned
form
into
this
thing. Yeah, and you're just like,
Yay.
can we cut it in half? Like if we cut it in half, can we will a phage and a chroma like spill out? So
All right, the left half of this is my Akroma. I hit you for how big was Akroma? 6/6?
Yes.
Yeah, I hit you for 6.
but
I block with this the right half, which is Faye.
Yeah. But so this was an honorary mention because this is awfully red rare for a Uber card. But a card that I actually did have on my list that I want to talk about, a card where I do think they maybe weren't as afraid to let this one get off the rails. I don't know that I had ever seen this card before I was doing research for this show weeks and weeks ago. It's called Game of Chaos. And no, I didn't just look for cards with chaos in the name. This is something really incredible. I take it you guys have heard of this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for the Oracle text, for
Yes, please.
for 3 red, it's a sorcery. Flip a coin. If you win the flip, you gain 1 life and target opponent loses 1 life. And then you decide whether to flip again. If you lose the flip, you lose 1 life, and that opponent gains 1 life, and that player decides whether to flip again. Double the life stakes with each flip. I love how it even says the word stakes in there. Like everybody, it's not using fancy terminology. Everybody knows what's going on here. This is gambling. This is just gambling in its purest form. You thought booster opening was gambling. Nope. We're going to flip a coin until somebody dies. But then if you want to get, not freaky, that sounds bad, but if you want to get nuts, it was released in Ice Age. And I remember reading it and being like, I don't, what? Flip a coin, target opponent calls heads or tails while coin is in the air. That's important. If the flip ends up in your favor, you gain 1 life and that opponent loses 1 life. Otherwise, you lose 1 life and the opponent gains 1 life. Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. The winner of each round decides whether to continue. Double the stakes in life each round. That's not terrible. I think I looked at that. It's a solid wall of text, though. It's like
That,
Yu-Gi-Oh! Wall of text.
you know what I don't miss? Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life.
Oh yeah, that reminder text showing up everywhere when you have to pay life
Everywhere.
or lose life or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
nowadays you would
yeah.
just say lose life or pay life, and
Yeah.
you know what that means. But back in the
Yeah.
day before the rules were solidified, they always would put that up. So you couldn't go like, I don't know, reverse damage. I gained that much instead. Ha ha ha, or whatever.
Circle of Protection Red, maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe. Although, interestingly enough, you'd have to activate it first, because once you get this going, so yeah, I thought this was one of those quintessential, because Red also loves its coin flipping, and it comes and goes. And we have a little bit of it, I think, in Modern Horizons 2, but part of that is because it's not going into Standard. I think they've really tried to tap down on coin flipping in Standard, because it really kind of distracts from the actual card game you have going on, and it produces this whole nother element that is literally randomness, unless you can flip a coin really well, like Mike, because Mike is good at flipping coins. Didn't you tell me once there was a blistering fire cat, or the blazing fire, or the fire cat with the coin flipping, that you managed to make like stupidly big every time?
Oh yeah, at the pre-release, I would always get like 3 or 4 wins. Crazed Fire Cat.
Yeah, I think if you're being consistent with your coin flipping, something is wrong. It's not random anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I don't recognize
yeah, like
this 5th edition Game of Chaos at all.
There was lots of new art in 5th edition. There were also lots of cards in 5th edition.
But it just amazes me that even to this day there are arts I still haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think I'd ever heard of this card before I was researching this, and I'm like, that's making the list.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted somebody with that. My bad.
Yeah, I was going to say that Game of Chaos, and even Ashling's Prerogative and Chaos Lord that you brought up before, are a great example of the kind of red rare that it does something, but you don't really know exactly what it's going to do each game or each time you play it. It might be great, it might be horrible, it might be in between. What I don't like are the cards that they made where you don't know whether it's going to do something or do nothing. That's what I don't care for. Things like, Loafing Giant, Mijay Jin. They tried to mirror me. Like, Mijay Jin and Idwen Ifrit were supposed to be mirrors of each other, but Idwen Ifrit is insanely good because sometimes it doesn't block, but then you just attack with it instead. You don't have to worry about that part, so...
Yeah, I looked at...
The Mijay Jin, when it attacks, you flip a coin. If you lose the flip, then it gets removed from combat and tapped. So it did nothing, and now it can't even block.
Yeah, but it's a 6/3 for 3 red mana.
True.
So,
but that means you might have paid 3 red mana for nothing.
Nothing that turn.
And not even because your opponent killed it or countered it, just because it didn't work.
Yeah, but then you get to try again next turn. Like, I looked at Mijay Jin, and to me it almost wasn't quite weird enough. I get where you're coming from. I had Yidwin Ifrit, and now I don't remember why. I'll look it up while you're talking about Loafing Giant.
That's the mirror of Mijay Jin, except it's way better.
Okay.
Hey, you know what's...
Idwen Ifrit.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Idwen Ifrit is a 3/6 for red. And it says whenever Idwen Ifrit blocks, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, remove it from combat, and it can't block this turn. Creatures that it was blocking that had become blocked by only it, become unblocked.
That's right.
But for that, it's like, I think I'll just attack with this 3/6 every turn and not have to worry about that nonsense.
You know what's really funny about you bringing up the Yidwin Ifrit?
Mm-hmm.
Is that at 4:37 today, I was informed that I got a copyright claim for my random card of the day Yidwin Ifrit video that I did 1,000 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Like, thanks.
That is random.
first the Swift's music, which has been in damn near every video that's ever gone up on my
Yeah.
channel.
Mhm.
So, okay.
Who'd you even get? Who even lodged the copyright claim?
It's someone called CD Baby. I think it's the same ones I've had trouble with in the past because it's who Swift has handling their copyright nonsense.
Mm.
So I gotta work on that later. But I just when you said you weren't afraid, I went. "Arr!"
So what's the loafing giant?
Loafing Giant is something similar. It's from Invasion. For 4 and a red, it's a 4/6 giant. Whenever Loafing Giant attacks or blocks, mill a card. If a land card was milled this way, prevent all combat damage Loafing Giant would deal this turn. So yeah, I mean you're getting a 4/6 for 5, but sometimes it does nothing, and that's just not appealing.
But it does have Hildebrand Brothers art.
It does. It has that going for it.
That's not enough, but you know it's something. Speaking of coin flipping, just in Modern Horizons 2, Chance Encounter is a card. Whenever you win a coin flip, you put a luck counter on it, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 10 or more luck counters, you win the game. Which
That was one of those alternate win condition cards from
Yeah.
Odyssey, right?
yeah. It's a red rare enchantment for 2 red.
Yeah.
I just thought that was neat that this just got reprinted.
Yeah. Well, there's some coin flipping in the set, so you can go all out and make it a thing if you want.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about red cards, Mike, that may end up doing nothing?
Uh-oh.
Elkin Lair is just odd.
Oh yeah.
I have no memory of this card.
It's
Look at the art. I'm sure the art.
No, that's what I'm looking at.
if it's I
Okay.
don't have it up in front of me. It's an enchant world that kind of replicates Elkin Bottle's effect, sort of.
Yeah. So for 3 and a red, it's a world enchantment. Oracle text. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player exiles a card at random from their hand. The player may play that card this turn. At the beginning of the next end step, if the player hasn't played the card, they put it into their graveyard. So basically, it for that turn, and it's each player during that player's turn. One of the cards in their hand, they have to play that turn, or it basically gets discarded. But it says they put it into their graveyard, so it technically wouldn't count as discard because it's going there from exile. So red discard, kind of, sort of.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
that's not like Elkin Bottle at all.
But it's universal, which makes it even weirder.
Yeah.
It's like everyone gets not quite a Howling Mine.
Yep. Kind of, sort of. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone gets forced to. That's
And you know what? It
that's a
doesn't
very
say. It
strange
doesn't.
way. That's a
doesn't
very
say-
strange way of playing into the impulsive side of red. You're like forcing your opponents to be impulsive too, or else they miss out on being able to play the card at all.
And it doesn't say non-land. So yeah. Yeah. I could see this really being disruptive and difficult to work
Or
around,
possibly does nothing. Yeah.
or possibly does absolutely nothing. You're like, okay, I'll play this guy. I was gonna play this turn anyway. Meanwhile, somebody else exiles like the thing that they either have to play it and that's their whole turn, or maybe they can't even play it yet, and now it's in their graveyard. I have a feeling if I played this card, Dirk would immediately target me. I don't care if it doesn't disrupt him. Dirk, you don't like this type of effect, do you? Like at all?
Not particularly, but
Yeah.
it's one of those where it. I could see Mike using this card and saying, I want stuff to go into the graveyard, so I'm not going to play this card this turn. All right, it goes into the graveyard. I don't want to play this card next turn either. That goes in the graveyard. Plays everything else in his hand except for the one thing he wants to go into the graveyard. Goes into the graveyard. So I see if Mike were to play this card, I would be like, we must kill Mike and we must kill him now.
Okay, so I play this card. Dirk's like, I don't like it. Mike plays this card. Mike must die. Makes sense, and I approve this message.
That it's because of the play style of all of us. Mike plays things like the best way to describe Mike's play style with red is this is sort of like Mortiorty, Sherlock's nemesis.
Moriarty?
Moriarty. Mike's like Moriarty. That you're like, okay, stuff is happening, and I don't like it. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to die at the end of this. Whereas Brian, when our play groups, Brian plays this card, and you're just going, okay, I don't know. Brian is probably not playing this to win. He's playing to see how this works. And to see what sort of chaos is about to ensue. Brian
is
playing
this to see how we react to it. Yes.
That is not inaccurate.
Brian is Heath Ledger's Joker, where he's not out to kill everybody, he's out to sow chaos and see what happens when chaos happens.
I don't. It's like someone just wrote my biography and I never even knew. Dirk. I'm almost close to tears. I can't tell you why. I'm just like, they should have sent a poet, but they did because they sent you. So yeah, good job, everybody. Well done.
And that was my final thought for the night, right?
And this is why we have to kill Mike first. I'm still approving this message. So if I happen to win because of it, it's an exit. If Mike wins because of it, that was the plan all along. Can't let him get away with that.
The thing about Heath Ledger's Joker, though, is that whole thing of, I'm not a schemer. I'm an agent of chaos. That was just a lie that he told Two-Face to send Two-Face on his way. He actually is a schemer, which means Brian actually has a plan, but Brian also gets distracted with the chaos.
That's also true. And yeah, no, I mean that was to show that he was hypocritical because his plans had plans on plans on plans, and then cell phone in the gut and more plans. So yeah,
oh my god, I forgot about cell phone in the gut.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So I found another one of those coin flip cards that would make Mike twitch.
Yeah.
Fiery Gambit.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So this is very well named. For 2 and a red, it's another sorcery from Mirrodin. Flip a coin until you lose a flip or choose to stop flipping. If you lose a flip at all, Fiery Gambit has no effect. For 2 and a red, do nothing. If you win 1 or more flips, it deals 3 damage to target creature. So it's a bad lightning bolt. That only hits creatures. If you win 2 or more flips, it deals 6 damage to each opponent. That's really good for 6 mana. 3 mana. If you win 3 or more flips, draw 9 cards and untap all lands you control.
And keep in mind, you also do the 3 damage and the 6 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the problem is, as soon as you lose a flip, you're done. Nothing happened. You spent 3 mana. Sit down and shut up.
You know how to tell when you're really sitting across the table from a legit crazy person is when they win the 3 flips and they're like, I'm going to go again. And you're like, no, please don't. I mean, I kind of want you to, but you're a really sick man, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, Crack's thumb was in that block too. So.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yes, that's exactly the word that comes to mind. Dirk, what were you going to say?
One that also is in the flip business is Risky Move.
That's the one I
think
couldn't
I-
remember.
Yeah, Risky Move was on my list too. Good job. I, I guess getting on my list is an accomplishment. So yes, what's it do?
At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player gains control of Risky Move. When you gain control of Risky Move from another player, choose a creature you control and an opponent. Flip a coin. If you lose the flip, that opponent gains control of that creature.
Yep, Onslaught.
And it costs 6!
I remember seeing this card, and this was again the first set I really bought into, and being like, I don't get it. And I turned to you guys, and I'm like, I don't get it. Why would they make this card? And they're like, it has begun. You now understand what you're looking at. That some cards are just that way. This to me was like, this was not the first red rare ever printed, but this was easily one of the first ones that I was ever exposed to, and it was a rare. Like, rare cards are supposed to be good, right? I remember getting 2 packs, and one of these had a Risky Move, and one had a Bloodstained Mire, which for my noob brain, I'm like, but it's a land, so I didn't get that either. But this, at least, I understood. I'm like, it costs 3 red mana, and a total of 6 mana. That has to be that's a lot of mana. This
That's
must
like
be
a
big
dragon's
effect.
worth of mana.
Yes, it is. So where's my dragon? Oh, maybe I can get your dragon, but maybe I don't. And then you get. Okay, this is terrible. I don't think I ever actually played with it. I think I just stared at it like, what am I missing? Was the feeling for a long time until I realized I wasn't missing a thing.
Yeah, this is another of those dick move cards. Just, you know what? I don't want anyone to play Magic the way they want to play Magic. I'm putting Risky Move in my deck. What?
I have another entry for our, as Mike put it, the like trying to encapsulate a flavor other than speed and damage, and it getting really weird and clunky and super wordy. You know it, you love it. It is Raging River.
Oh, God.
So, hey, Dark, have you ever seen Raging River?
I have not.
Okay. Well, I won't make you read it because, duh. I'm going to read, once again, have you caught on yet? The Oracle text. This costs only 2 red, which is kind of crazy when you think about what this does. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, each defending player divides all creatures without flying they control into a left pile and a right pile. Then, for each attacking creature you control, choose left or right. That creature can't be blocked this combat except by creatures with flying and creatures in a pile with the chosen label. I mean, you get what it does. Flavor-wise, you're like, okay.
Now, the printed text, I'm reading the unlimited version here, is so funny. When you attack, non-flying defending creatures must be divided, as opponent wishes, between the left and right sides of the river. You then choose on which side of the river to place each attacking creature, and attacking creatures can only be blocked by flying creatures or those on the same side of the river.
Which, you know what? That actually, I don't know if that's more clear or less clear than the Oracle text. Except for, you're like looking around, you're like, where's the river?
And this is where Austin Powers turns to the camera and goes, "Oh, I've gone cross-eyed." But like, I get what it's saying is what it's doing is it's conjuring up a river to run down the middle of the battlefield and separate the armies into two.
Only during your turn, though.
Well, yeah. So, like, I get it, but it's so freaking bizarre. And the fact that your opponent makes the left and right pile first means that you could just, theoretically, makes some of your stuff unblockable.
In theory, yeah. For 2 red mana, this is actually a little nuts, right? Like it's not broken, but it's a little nuts. Because
You're like, oh, you've got 2 creatures. Lightning bolt. Oh, you've got 1 creature. Is it on the left or the right? Well, it's on the left. Cool, all my stuff's on the right. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
we'll all give it flying so we can fly over and block one of them. Well, okay then. It flew over the river. I didn't appreciate that, but fine.
Now, I will say this. So, and this covers multiplayer because it says each defending player. What I can't do is in a game with these guys, I can't attack Chewie and Mike and make Dirk still say left or right. And just pointlessly divide up his stuff because he's not a defending player.
You're trying to drive a wedge between Dirk's creatures so they learn to hate each other.
They turn to each other and the one is like, why am I on the left?
Are you a leftist or are you wrong? Wait, no, hang on. No, that was right. Wait. Anyway,
I'm on the left side. You're on the right side.
It's like that episode. It's like that episode of Avatar with the 2 tribes that didn't trust each other: the hoity-toity people and the really, really dirty people. I think it was called The Divide.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So somebody's looking at their creatures and they're like, all right, here's the dirty creatures and here's the really nice creatures. And the dirty creatures are like, hey.
Ooh, I've got another weird red rare.
Okay.
This was actually really good. Breaking Point.
Breaking Point. I did not have this one.
Well, it's not terribly bizarre, but it represents a mechanic that was going on around this time in Red.
Yeah.
Breaking Point for 1 red is a sorcery from Judgment. And it says, any player may have Breaking Point deal 6 damage to them. If no one does, destroy all creatures that can be regenerated. And it was a weird, like, Punisher, I think they called it, mechanic. That there were, I don't know, 4 or 5 cards that Red
Book
got.
Burning and Browbeat being 2 of the, like, Browbeat
was by far the most famous one, I think, yeah.
Yes.
But it's just a neat, all right, I'm going to blow up everything unless someone takes 6 to the head.
Yeah.
And this is where all of the opponents look at each other and are like, and there's one guy who's like, I'm not doing it. That was Dirk.
Yep.
Yeah, Dirk could be at like 50 life and he'd be like, no.
Yeah. And then there's the guy who had all the creatures but was like, was it like 8? Like, Mike? Yeah. And Mike's like, I'll take 6. Like,
that's usually how it worked. Yeah.
Mike, you've only got 2 creatures. Yeah, but I like them.
But they would go to your graveyard.
Well, I hadn't learned yet at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this was back before we were playing Commander, so 6 life meant a lot more. So, how do you feel about Blood Oath?
Yeah, that's another one where you have no idea what it's actually going to do.
Right.
I don't know this one.
Blood Oath for 3 in a red is an instant. Choose a card type. Keep in mind, card type. Target opponent reveals their hand. Blood Oath deals 3 damage to that player for each card of the chosen type revealed that way. Might do nothing. Might be a lightning bolt for 4 mana. Might be dead.
That's
it's definitely
that's an interesting
red rare.
It's one of those where knowing the meta is probably a lot better, or knowing
Probably.
like what your opponent is likely to be playing
knowing
in
your
their deck.
Yeah. Oh, certainly there's ways to like game this.
Like if it's
Uh,
Dirk, you should probably say creature.
Yeah.
You know me so well.
But it's just odd, and it's an example of red doing this, trying to be different with its damage, but kind of ending up being a little just odd. But
I've got one.
You can't tell me you never thought, oh, Blood Oath, that must be a black card just from the name.
Right?
It's not. Yeah.
Mm.
What do you got, Dirk?
So one that I'm gonna drop for the group, and I'm sure this will bring a lot of chuckles to everybody's minds, is Furnace of Wrath.
Ooh, okay.
That
Risky.
one is absolutely just. I'm dropping this without a plan of I'm going to use this to wipe out a player. This is in a multiplayer game. This is I'm dropping this to see what happens. I will probably die,
So
but
you're
I'm
not
pretty
talking,
sure a lot of other people will die too.
So you're not talking about like the combo player or like the Red Rush player you're talking about the guy who's just like,
Because
sure, why not?
what is the one that
That's
is the personal Furnace of Wrath?
Gratuitous violence.
Gratuitous violence. If you want that I am going to do this to you, you play gratuitous violence. If you are going to, I'm playing this in multiplayer because I want to laugh hysterically at the results. You play with Furnace of Wrath.
Yeah, gratuitous violence says if a creature you control would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals double instead. Whereas
Just for creatures though.
it is just for creatures, though, yeah. Whereas Furnace of Wrath just says if a source would deal damage, it deals double that damage. I remember somebody once, I can't remember who this was, but like it was turn 4, and they just went Furnace of Wrath, go, and we all of our eyes just popped.
just like,
Yes,
no,
I
you don't
very
do
much
that.
remember that game.
We were like, what? He's like,
That sounds like some idiot thing I would have done.
it might have been.
No,
I don't remember.
I think I might have done that too.
It's just Furnace
That
of
was an
Wrath,
AJ
go.
move too.
Like
You
what
don't
do you
usually do it twice.
like? No attacking, no nothing. Just Furnace of Wrath, go. Like why didn't you hit someone? We're like need him for defense. What?
well, yeah,
Why
didn't
did
you
you-
see? I just played a Furnace
It's
of
just
Wrath.
playing a Furnace of Wrath. That's true.
Okay, then maybe it wasn't me. I would have played if I had something. I would have gone Furnace of Wrath attack.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Dark. So you guys know red can embody chaos. That's a lot of what we talked about. And one of the cards that we've seen riffs on over the years is Wheel of Fortune, where everybody drops their hand and draws 7 new ones. Just boom, usually symmetrical. I found one that does that, but it does it super cheap. What if I told you it was a wheel that cost 1 red mana?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Now it's not exactly the same. It is Winds of Change. It is a single red mana. It's a sorcery. It does not draw everybody up to 7. That's the thing. It says each player shuffles the cards from their hand into their library, then draws that many cards. And you figure even if you had 7, you've played a land, played Winds of Change, you're already, at least from playing the Winds of Change, you have X minus 1, right? So, but for a single red mana, I had to be like, okay, this, could you imagine turn 1, just like Mountain, Winds of Change. Everybody's hand is now completely random.
Yeah, not what they thought they were keeping.
And
here's more 5th edition art I've never seen before.
Table hates you. I was just looking at the Masters Edition. Let's look at 5th edition.
Yeah, Masters Edition is the original art.
Yeah.
What's the portal art? Whoa, it's a more different weather vane.
Huh.
Like, I've never seen the
It's a-
portal art either, but that doesn't
It's a
surprise
weather
me.
ship. It's a weather ship, weather vane. Now I was just looking at goat head skull man guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Chat wants to talk about Thieves Auction, which, yeah,
I was hoping chat would get involved with this.
that is totally one we should talk about, because Thieves Auction is something.
Thieves Auction. Yeah, it is. Arcadian masks, baby.
What? No. Show me. There we go. Had to get that white border off the screen. So Thieves Auction for 4 red, 7 mana, is a sorcery from Arcadian Masks, and then from 8th edition. Exile all non-token permanents. Starting with you. Each player chooses one of the exiled cards and puts it onto the battlefield tapped under their control. Repeat this process until all cards exiled this way have been chosen.
That, by the way, includes lands. Yeah.
So it seems to me that in like our play group, the way this would have gone is the person who played it would have then taken the best thing on the battlefield.
Yes.
And then other people would have taken, in order, whatever was good or theirs that was part of their plan or whatever. And then someone would start taking lands before everyone else. Realizing that there was still a game of Magic to be played. And then someone else would gather up more of the creatures or whatever and look down and only have like 3 lands at the end of this and go, huh. That would have been me, by the way. That it was me. It's like, give me all the stuff to hit you with and do things with and not cast spells. But yeah, Thief Auction is another of those giant chaos nonsense cards.
The smart player would have played that, grabbed all the lands while everyone else was getting all the stuff, and then played like Armageddon or something. So that way they wipe the board and be stuck with have all the lands, and everyone's just going, just left with their jaws on the ground.
He meant wrath.
With no lands.
Yeah.
Lord. Wasn't there another auction? What's it called? Illicit auction?
Illicit auction. Yeah, I think that's the art I first saw in my head when you said Thieves Auction. I thought that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, illicit auction is more of an auction. For 3 red, it's from Mirage originally. Ooh. And it says, each player may bid life for control of target creature. You start the bidding with a bid of 0. In turn order, each player may top the high bid. The bidding ends if the high bid stands. The high bidder loses life equal to the high bid and gains control of the creature. And then the reminder text in the Oracle text is, this effect lasts indefinitely. So you're not bidding life to get this until end of turn. But yeah, this has this crazy red, like elephant corn, unifant, elicorn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's got stripes too. Okay, I don't even know what this animal is, but it is clearly up on this tiny little auction block.
I have always and forever will see that as some kind of like Huffalump creature.
Well, yeah, it totally looks like something that Dr. Seuss would have come up with. But it's another auction card that is... This one's a lot less bizarre. Because it's essentially... Alright, I'm going to pay life for the best thing on the board. Ha! Hopefully it has haste. So then you can punch people with it.
So I have an auction type card. It does not have the word auction in the name, but it is very much a bidding card. But it requires you to, and I quote, hide items.
Ah, Goblin Game.
Goblin Game. because I almost didn't put it because I almost feel like it was too easy. But I'm like, I'm rereading and I'm like, no, this encourages you to hide physical objects from other players. So, no, this counts. So, this is the Oracle text, mind you. 5 and 2 red, so super expensive sorcery. Each player hides at least one item. Then all players reveal them simultaneously. You don't pick numbers. They actually want you to show so there's no cheating. Oh, well, I picked 7 or whatever. Um, Reveal them simultaneously. Each player loses life equal to the number of items they reveal. Each player. So, not just the highest bid or anything like that. The player who revealed the fewest items then loses half their life rounded up. If 2 or more players are tied for fewest, each loses half their life rounded up.
So it's like trying to shoehorn a game of liar's dice into Goblin into Magic.
Yeah, but with items, hiding items. The printed text actually says hides at least one object. So items, objects, not magic cards, although I guess those are technically both.
But
But
like, it trips me out that they never changed the Oracle text. But you could totally do this with like, a D20. Everyone just pick a number and behind your
Yeah.
hand, and then everyone lift your hand at once.
yeah.
I think the standard floor ruling for like tournament play is everyone secretly chooses a number.
Oh, I want to see people like I'm picturing like marbles or
Glass beads that people used to
Yeah.
use for counters.
There you go.
Hey Mike, let me just have a handful of those beads in case you play Goblin Game. Mike's like, I'm playing mono blue. Just give me the things.
And that the one guy who's like, I didn't bring anything. And they're like, well, just just tell us your number. What's your number? Hold on. Let me go grab some more beads.
But you could also like
Always
hide.
bid 20.
Like you could have magic cards in a stack nearby and just deal yourself out some number of those or something.
Mhm.
If you really want to hide items just behind your hand, this will do. This is such a great stupid card, but it makes you actually like think about what your opponents might do. Because if I say, okay, I don't want to be the lowest, but I can't take too much damage, I'm gonna say 4.
All right. Right now, with we are all at 20 life. The 4 of us. I play Goblin Game. Just tell me what you bid, because right off the bat, I'll tell you I'm probably bidding 6. Mike, what do you bid? You got to go faster than that, man.
Sorry, I didn't have time to think about it.
That was the point.
8.
Wow. Dirk,
5.
5. Chewy,
Well, now that I know that Dirk chose 5, I'm gonna say 6, so Dirk loses half his life.
yeah. Okay. So there's not really a way to do that.
But like,
I mean, you can't see what I'm holding up.
but then Dirk would lose 5, and then lose half his life.
Yes, because you do that in the order. Yeah, you work top to bottom. So yeah. So Dirk is at 20. He loses 5, goes to 15, then loses
8,
8.
because it's rounded up.
Ooh.
Okay, let's talk about a bizarre red rare that actually sort of destroyed Standard.
Okay.
What's it
Gotta
called?
hear this.
Experimental Frenzy.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's one of those ones in the vein of exploring. Yeah, when the point I raised about exploring resource usage or card advantage in ways that red would do, but other colors can't or won't.
Yeah.
And it also plays into the impulsiveness too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had this up to get ready to talk about. So Experimental Frenzy, if you don't mind me reading it,
Go for it.
costs 3 and a red. It's red rare enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library. You can't play cards from your hand. And you can pay 3 and a red to destroy Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah. This is a card that, when it was shown, when we talked about it on the show in previews, Mike was like, I think this could be a thing. And I went, really? And you were like, yes. And then later, it totally became a thing.
It totally became a thing.
Because I have played with Future Sight, and Future Sight is nuts.
Yeah. I remember this card. The funny thing is, I thought you were talking when you said the name. The first thing I thought of was Fires of Invention, which does a very different thing but costs the same, and also was like, oh, cool, and then later was problematic. So, but this, yeah, I mean, like, I remember playing against this on Arena, and I'm like, how many things can you have at the top of your deck? Turns out all the things.
Yeah.
All of them. Once you reach another land, apparently not. Because I could probably count on one hand the number of times somebody actually voluntarily blowed it up. They just kept going. And I died. A lot.
Fool said voluntarily blowed it up.
So, Fires of Invention is similar in that they were trying to explore other stuff with red. For 3 in a red, it's a rare from Throne of Eldraine. It's an enchantment. You can cast spells only during your turn, and you can cast no more than 2 spells each turn. That's extremely limiting. You may cast spells with a converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control without paying their mana costs. That's the payoff. And you might go, oh, well, that's kind of neat. I got so sick of seeing this card. You have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just people playing those. I can't remember what they were called. Those spectral riders.
Yeah.
That were like the Titan adjacent creatures on core set.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things.
Yes. And it just basically turned into like, oh, here's just
It's like, no, I won't pay 2 you for this creature. I'll just play it for free.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever.
Oddly enough, this is the card I was thinking of that Mike totally called was going to be a thing. Although,
I mean, both of them.
I think he also called Experimental Frenzy, but this is the one that specific instance I was thinking of.
See, you said Experimental Frenzy, and my mind went right there, and I guess they do different things, but they both kind of like they kind of both constrain and expand what you can do at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, Experimental Frenzy is, let's keep going. But, you have a very limited choice as to what you're playing next. But if you can keep it rolling, wow. And then Fires of Invention is just like, here's your personal mana flare.
Yeah.
Do with it what you will.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. So, from chat, we have Bend or Break. And I don't even know what that is.
Bend or Break. It's from Invasion. All right.
Yeah, I think that's one of the 2 piles cards from Invasion.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember those.
For 3 in a red, it's a rare sorcery that says each player separates all lands he or she controls into 2 face-up piles. For each player, an opponent chooses a pile. Destroy all lands in that pile. Tap all lands in the other pile. Damn!
Interesting that the Oracle text specifically says all non-token lands.
Oh, right. I didn't read the Oracle text. Is
No,
there any
but
other difference?
I just... No, that's literally...
Is it because the printed text says land cards?
It does.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm looking at them side by side, and yeah. That's weird. So each player separates them, and for each player, one of their piles is chosen by one of their opponents of their choice. That's interesting. That's the Oracle text. The printed text almost makes it sound like for each player an opponent. Well, okay. So I guess the Oracle text kind of clarifies. You don't just pick one person to be like, all right, you're just going to pick for everybody. Unless you all agree, which would be weird, and they'd still need to pick somebody else. So
We're all like, Dirk, which pile? Dirk's like, I don't care.
Left or
It's-
right? Raging River.
Oh
And
god.
the thing is, they love to pick me because I'm like, I don't know what half the cards do in either pile. So that one.
What? I don't remember any of these other two pile cards all having just negative things. Like this is destroy one pile and tap everything in the other pile.
Yeah, I think wasn't there a white one that was basically a Wrath, like Wrath one, or no? I remember there's one where there's a picture of Urza on it, and it's basically a mass uh, uh, recursion. You separate, each player separates all the creature cards in their graveyard into two piles, and you bring basically half them back. Um, but that's a negative where the pile stays in the graveyard, and a positive. This is lose half, and the other half is tapped. That's weird.
That's weird.
Wonder
I'm
if
gonna
you
do a
could use it
search
to like.
for separates all.
Wonder if you could do that like in a combo deck where you just float enough
That's not-
mana, and then you float enough mana for your combo, and then you play Bend or Break, and everybody else has to either respond with mana for a counter spell, or they're just tapped out, right? Right, they're by definition they are tapped out. I
Or
mean,
they're so distracted by the fact that you played Bender Break that they're not suspecting you're going to follow it up with a combo.
Death or Glory was the card you were thinking of, Brian.
Okay.
There you go.
Exile the pile of an opponent's choice and return the other to the battlefield.
Oh, and it's only your graveyard, so it's not everybody.
Right, that's just you.
Huh.
Do or die
So
was
the other
all
half gets
creatures.
exiled. It doesn't.
Yeah. So basically, what Brian was saying isn't quite right.
Okay.
Do or die was separate all creatures target player controls. Fact or fiction, we all know, is reveal the top 5 cards of your library. What was the other one? Fight or flight is another one.
Mhm.
Separate all creatures that player controls into 2 piles. Oh, at the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn. Oh, that's an enchantment. Oh.
Oh, dude, play Fight or Flight with Raging River.
All right.
Piles on piles on
Everybody
piles.
kill Brian.
Yeah, I
could
deserve
You could
that.
add stand or fall to that pile of piles. For 3 and a red rare enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, for each defending player, separate all creatures that player controls into 2 piles, and that player chooses one. Only creatures in the chosen piles can block this turn.
But then what side of the river are they on?
Yeah, this is like a way worse Raging River. Screw this card.
Yeah. It costs twice as much, too. What's the reverse of power creep? I can't make this list without talking about Mike. Stronghold Gambit.
What? Stronghold Camp. Oh man, the ultimate. I don't know whether this is going to do anything or whether it's going to be awesome, whether it's going to be horrible.
Yeah, except you built a legacy deck that actually like used this to good effect, but
Yeah, I remember after one game. I remember after one game, my opponent's buddy asked me, "Why don't you just play show and tell?" And I was like, inside I was like, damn. But outside I was like, I don't even remember what my answer was.
Style points, man.
Yeah.
Style points. But kind of like Dirk was saying about Furnace of Wrath, really, like when you do it without a plan, Stronghold Gambit without a plan is beautiful and disastrous at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it's going to mess you up so badly.
All right, so tell us about Stronghold Gambit.
Mike, why don't you? It's your card. Like,
yeah, it's pretty cool. For 1 and a red, it's a sorcery. Each player chooses a card in their hand. Then each player reveals their chosen card. The owner of each creature card revealed this way with the lowest mana value puts it onto the battlefield.
Ornithopter for the win.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah!
But yeah, many years ago, I built a legacy deck. Like I actually took it to Star City Open. I built a legacy deck that was made around, making my opponent discard cards, and then, Stronghold Gambit for a Chroma, ha ha ha, or something equally ridiculous.
Yeah.
A Stronghold Gambit Progenitus, something like that.
Yeah.
It was very silly.
But it was good. It was
Mhm.
fun. So I saw this and I'm like, yeah, this has to be on the list. But I mean, come on, it's Mike's card.
It really is. Didn't you also take the Stronghold
Yeah.
Gambit deck to that typeless tournament we all went to?
The like 5 proxies allowed tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Yeah, I
did.
think. Yeah, I lost to the kid who eventually. That was my one loss, I think. It was like a weird single elimination thing. But yeah, that's right. I wonder if that deck would be any good if I actually had like a not stupid land base for it. Oh well, that's something we'll look into later.
So Chet had another card,
Okay.
and this is very, very red rare. It's War's Toll. Originally from Dissension, it was reprinted in Battle Bond. For 3 in a red, it's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that player controls. If a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creatures that opponent controls attack, if able. Ah!
No half measures.
All or nothing.
Yeah.
Ride or die.
All or nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, there are several red cards that do stuff like this. You have Wars Told, Grand Melee,
Yeah.
Fumiko the Low Blood. I love Fumiko. I think back in the day, it started with a card, I don't know if it was from Ice Age or Alliances or what, called Total War. Let me look it up.
Total War. How have I not heard of this card before?
Yeah, okay. So it was it was from Ice Age. And that one was basically the attack part of War's Toll, except whenever a player attacks with one or more creatures, destroy all untapped non-wall creatures that player controls that didn't attack, except for creatures the player hasn't controlled continuously since the beginning of the turn.
I've never seen this card before. And I used to play the heck out of Angel's Trumpet.
Oh yeah, Angel's Trump.
Yeah. So, but that's.
But yeah,
I mean,
I like this. Where it's like this. Okay, it's time to go, whether you like it or not.
I'm almost sad that we have now used up the name Total War because, I mean, it's still a cool card, but that is so metal. I'm surprised we didn't see it reprinted in Kaldheim.
There was something I wanted to bring up. We were still talking about separating stuff into piles. It was a stupid red rare printed in Born of the Gods that caused like a crisis on MTGO. Whims of the Fates is a sorcery for 5 in a red. Starting with you, each player separates all permanents he or she controls into 3 piles. Then each player chooses one of his or her piles at random and sacrifices those permanents. It's got some reminder text. Piles can be empty. So, they designed this card. It was going to print. They gave the stuff over to the MTGO team so they could work on programming and stuff. And someone came back and said, the software doesn't have the capability to separate things into 3 piles. There is a ton of back-end programming work we're going to have to do to make this, dumbass
This
card
one
that's never going to be
card.
printed again work on MTGO. Please never do something like this again. Please consult with us before you do these dumb things in the future.
Mark Rosewater's like, excellent. Now to wait 5 years, then make a card with 4 piles.
So yeah, a ton of work had to go into MTGO to make Whims of the Fates work properly.
Which, totally worth it, obviously. Top card in every format.
I also love the amazing coincidence that it's got a community rating of 3.333 out of 5 with 33 votes. Like that.
You can't no. Really.
Yeah, like I can't even. Now the Commander
Wow.
2016 version has 0 votes, so that doesn't count. But the original Born of the Gods version, that's too good.
That's too good. I mean, I think if somebody else tried to vote, they'd get strung up. And you can't even do that on the internet, but it's too perfect. So we've actually covered most of the stuff. The last card on my list. Why is this not? Sorry,
last
I'm
card on
trying
my
to.
list that I have broken.
Oh, because I had the apostrophe in the wrong place. It's not Mages Contest. There's two Mages. It's Mages Contest. This is the last card. It is another auction card.
Oh god.
But yeah, all right. For 1 and 2 red, it's an instant. You and target spell's controller bid life. So this is with a spell on the stack, obviously. You start the bidding with a bid of 1. So unlike, what was the one that you started with 0? Was it Thieves Auction or something? Yeah.
No, illicit auction. You start with 0.
Illicit auction. Yeah. In turn order, each player may top the high bid. The bidding ends if the high bid stands. The high bidder loses life equal to the high bid. If you win the bidding, counter that spell. This is interesting because it does not allow other people to get in on the bid. It's only the two of you. If I'm trying to counter Chewy's spell, Mike can't be like, I pay 15 life. I mean, you can try, but it won't work. So
he can say that all day.
Yeah. So if you thought the counter spells weren't weird enough, especially when they're in red, add an auction to it.
I really like the flavor of this card, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the art very much shows like the Harry Potter and Voldemort magic beams are connected, and you're trying to push it back into the other fighter.
Yeah, this to me is less about manipulation of mana and aether, and more about sheer. I hate to use this phrase, but basically sheer force of will, sheer I'm not gonna let you have that spell. Oh yeah, well I'm gonna have that spell. So all that it's missing is it says if you win the bidding, counter that spell. I almost want it to say if you win the bidding, you may counter that spell. Just for like, just for.
It's like, eh.
Yeah, I paid 8. Spell resolves. What?
Exactly. But, I think I'm the only.
That's what's known as a power move.
That's what's called as a dick move, is what that is.
Oh, man.
And that's all I got. I mean, I know there's more. We've seen a lot of good ones, but
oh yeah,
I think I hit all the reds I wanted to talk about.
I mean, there's one famous one that we have to talk about as far as bizarre red rares, and that's Final Fortune.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, but I don't, and it's great, but I almost love it too much. And it's almost not. If you set it up right, it's not really random. But I have cast Final Fortune just to get another turnout when I was going to die anyway, and totally lost. So it's not an insta-win card.
Yeah,
I seem
and
to
it's
remember
inspired several callbacks over the years too.
Yeah, it has. I seem to remember somebody in our group going Final Fortune, attack for the win, ha, and someone going fog.
I'm sure it has.
It's like, wait, why didn't you fog last turn? Like, I don't know. I could take it. Now I can't.
That was probably me.
But Final Fortune for Red is an instant originally from Mirage. Take another turn after this one, you lose the game at the end of that turn. Just very very simple, and yeah, like Mike said, it was popular enough to have gotten several callbacks, although I can't think of any of those off the top of my head. But this is very much Red's more of
Red's one in
gambling. Like, all right,
Yeah.
it's all or nothing right here, damn it.
Yeah. I like how final it is. It really is just, this is your last chance.
Yeah, there was one in one of the recent Ravnica sets that was it was a Boros card. It was red and white, but it's like all your creatures get indestructible and I think something else until end of turn, and you get an extra turn and then lose at the end of that turn. And there was also one from Amonkhet that was, it said end the turn, and then you lose the game at the end of the next turn.
But
Which, if played during your opponent's turn,
Was basically Final Fortune.
basically,
huh. Ooh. Here's another famous one. That we've talked about this as a vibe, but not as the card itself. Gamble. 1 mana. Search your library for a card. Put that card into your hand. Then discard a card at random. Originally from Urza's what's the gear? Saga.
Urza Saga, yeah.
I don't recognize the Urza Saga art, though.
That's surprising.
Which is also the Vintage Masters art. I don't recognize any of the... Well, okay, I do recognize the Eternal Masters art, but that's just because I don't actually know why I recognize that art. I guess because it's the last time I saw it. But yeah, I don't recognize this art for Gamble at all. Which is... I'm sure I've seen it before, it just didn't stick. Like, it's always just what the card did, rather than the art for this one, I guess. I can't even tell what's going on. Does he have... I got nothing. Did he, like, jump into a... Nope, I can't tell what's going on. It looks like he's hanging from some sort of crag by something.
Yeah, you're talking about the original art?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be, yeah, like making some desperate reach for another ledge.
Oh, okay, I see. He's hanging here, so he's trying to reach there, even though it could let go. Okay, now I see it. I love the flavor text. When you've got nothing, you might as well trade it for something else.
Yeah.
Damn, that's life advice right there. Man, weird red rares are so weird.
oh yeah. Hence this episode.
Like, I'm just scrolled past Goblin Bomb, which is another coin flip card. For 2 mana, it's an enchantment from Weatherlight. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may flip a coin. If you win the flip, put a fuse counter on Goblin Bomb. If you lose the flip, remove a fuse counter from Goblin Bomb. And you remove 5 fuse counters from Goblin Bomb and sacrifice it, and it deals 20 damage to target player or planeswalker.
That's a lot.
That was one of those where new Magic player Mike was like, look at that number. That number is amazing.
That is not a small number.
And then I put it in a deck, and it never worked. I was like, wow.
I mean, 5 counters is a lot when you when you're just as likely to remove them as to add them.
Yeah, when it can also go backwards, yeah, it didn't take me too long to learn that lesson.
Oh, what is it? Power Conduit, where you can choose a permanent with a counter on it and add another one to it?
No, power conduit moves counters
Lost
around.
It moves them.
Figured that.
Okay, so now I need to build the deck that makes fuse counters cheaply and then moves them over. And there's also,
I think power conduit can only do +1/+1 counters and charge counters. There was something else.
well, there's always proliferate.
Proliferate does what you want it to do. Yeah.
Bomb Squad makes fuse counters. You could play it with Giant Fan.
Yes, you can.
Because
Giant
Bomb Squad
Fan-
just says tap, put a fuse counter on target creature, and then you Giant Fan to move that fuse counter onto your Goblin Bomb. It'll still take 5 turns.
Or you just opalescence and make sure you have a way to respond to the 4th counter being put on it by adding a 5th counter so you can activate it.
Hey. God, these cards are dumb. Last Chance is the other one. Oh, okay, hang on. Which one is Last Chance?
Same thing as Final Fortune, except it's a sorcery from Portal.
Oh, it's from Portal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was one of the callbacks. Oh, God. Scrambleverse. Yep. Scrambleverse is another of those what cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's from M12. I don't even remember. I just remembered the name and it immediately clicked in my brain. Thank you, chat. For 6 red, it's a sorcery that says, for each non-land permanent, choose a player at random. Then each player gains control of each permanent for which he or she was chosen. Untap those permanents. Yeah, that's another one of those. Where you're just like, you know what? I'm playing this card. But that reminds me, we didn't talk about Warp World, and Violet will listen to this later and be like, I don't believe you guys.
You're right, we missed it.
Yeah. So, and chat just said it as I pulled it up. So Warp World is the first of these that I saw that was just a big, ridiculous chaos thing. I even built a deck around this once, I think, but I don't remember what it did.
You probably made a bunch of tokens.
I
that
think you're
was
right.
what mine did.
Or maybe I'm remembering
Make a bunch
Brian's.
of tokens. Yeah.
But Warp
And
World
yet-
for 5 and 3 red. Oh, God. And what's this from?
Ravnica,
Oh,
right?
original Ravnica. Each player shuffles all permanents they own into their library, then reveals that many cards from the top of their library. Each player puts all artifact, creature, and land cards revealed this way onto the battlefield, then does the same for enchantment cards, then puts all cards revealed this way that weren't put onto the battlefield on the bottom of their library. And that's to keep you from having auras that get stuck. So you do everything else first, and then those things. I remember what mine did now. It played the hunted cards, because for a while, the hunted card tokens that they made, since they were made by your card, you owned them, even though your opponent controlled them. So I would play like Hunted Dragon and Hunted, I think probably Phantasm, because it made, I think, 5.
Yeah, it made 4 or 5 goblins, yeah.
Yeah, and then Warp World, so I would get a whole lot of extra permanents that my opponents didn't get to keep. And then the rules changed, but I had already taken that deck apart. But but because my card made them, I owned them, so they worked for my Warp World instead of my opponent's. But nowadays, I'm pretty sure who's ever controlled they enter under is who owns them.
Yeah, that's the current rule.
Yeah. So that would be counterproductive under the current rules.
Yeah, but that was how the rules worked back then. So
I think I played like the Forbidden Land that made dudes for an opponent when you tapped it. Forbidden Orchard, is that what it was called?
Forbidden Orchard, yeah.
Yeah, and all kinds of stuff that gave my opponents creatures. And I think I had the other things that made people lose life based on the number of creatures they had. but also had Warp World in it as a big ha-ha! Like,
Yeah.
God, that deck was stupid. I miss it.
It's funny. There was a red rare enchantment from the original Unglued set that was kind of made to make fun of, you know, the naming conventions and the effects of red rare enchantments. But the thing is, except for the name, there's nothing about the card that wouldn't work for an actual Magic card. There were a couple things like that in the original Unglued set. It was called Burning Cinder Fury of Crimson Chaos Fire.
Oh,
It was,
yeah.
yeah, the name was so long that the card was like sideways, on the in the frame. It costs 3 and a red. It's an enchantment, but the effect is something that could be printed. Whenever any player taps a permanent, that player chooses one of their opponents. The chosen player gains control of that permanent at the beginning of the next end step. At the beginning of each player's end step, if that player didn't tap any non-land permanents that turn, Burning Cinder Fury of Crimson Chaos Fire deals 3 damage to that player.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
that
could-
could certainly be printed now.
I don't know if you'd want to, but it could be. Wow. That. Huh. That's definitely making fun of all the things that we've talked about thus far tonight. But it's also not like it's exactly that thing that it's making fun of.
Yeah.
Like, I forget whose law it is, but there's one of those internet laws that says you can't tell the difference between someone who really believes something or someone who just says they believe something to be a troll. Or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which law that is, but that's a thing. Huh. But, like, we've talked about a bunch of things. There's the gambling aspect, the chaos aspect, the coin flipping thing,
The impulse and short-sightedness.
the impulse and short-sightedness, the risk reward thing, like Furnace of Wrath is very risk reward. And basically all of these examples of cards that I've come up with that I haven't said yet are just more of those. Capricious Efreet is a gamble. At the beginning, well, let me just pull it up. Capricious Efreet is for 4 red, it's a 6/4. Efreet. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target non-land permanent you control, and up to 2 non-land permanents you don't control. Destroy one of them at random. It's more gambling for a not great... What's M10? Oh, okay. That makes sense, I guess. But, like, it's a 6/4 for 6 that might blow up one of your opponent's somethings or one of your somethings.
That's why it's capricious.
And let's see here. Oh. Well, here's another one. Chaos Moon. I don't even know this one.
Oh, yuck. I don't even remember what that does. I know it's not good.
For 3 and a red, it's from Ice Age. Look at that tiny ass text. At the beginning of each upkeep, count the number of permanents. Here we go with this again.
Counting.
If the number's odd, until end of turn, red creatures get +1/+1. And whenever a player taps a mountain for mana, they get an extra red mana. Okay? If the number is even, until end of turn, red creatures get -1/-1. And if a player taps a mountain for mana, that mountain produces colorless mana instead of anything else. So it's either a red... What's that?
It's either Gauntlet of Might.
Gauntlet of Might. Or kick you in the ball? Huh. That's not good.
No.
Oh, but there's a whole thing that we didn't mention.
What's that?
One of my favorite. What's one of my favorite red rare sorceries, you guys?
Ooh, I feel like I should know this.
It's Kaboom.
Oh yeah.
That's another one where, yeah, it's gonna do something, but you don't know exactly what.
Yeah, Kaboom. It started with, I think, Erratic Explosion, but they might have been from the same set.
Mm-hmm. They are.
They are, yeah. So Erratic Explosion for 2 and a red is a common sorcery that says, choose a target, reveal cards from the top of your library until you hit a non-land. Erratic Explosion deals damage equal to that card's converted, no, it's not converted anymore, mana value to that permanent or player. And Kaboom is that, but you choose any number of players or planeswalkers. And for each of them, you reveal cards until you hit something that's not a land, and then you hit them for that much. And I would always, Kaboom, you, in that order, go. And then just flip it up. All right, you're taking 8, you're taking 2, and you're taking 3. Well, one of you hates me. Like,
It felt like I always took the most damage, which, was nothing personal because he had no control over it, but
I've always loved Kaboom and cards like it. Like, not all of the cards like it. Like, an old one from Alliances is called Chaos Harlequin. And you could tell from Mike's reaction. For 2 red, it's a 2/4. Well, now it's a human. And you pay a red and exile the top card of your library. If it's a land card, Chaos Harlequin gets -4/-0 until end of turn. What? It's only a 2/4. That's awful. But if it's not a land, then it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And now it's a 4/4.
oh, broken.
Oh, I get
Kill
it.
somebody that way.
It's -4, so you can't just keep going
Yeah.
and come out ahead because you're playing more non-lands than lands. So it'll take 2 hits to counter 1 miss. So it's really bad. But then there's a newer one that's along the same lines, Amplifier. It's from Ravnica Allegiance. Which I remember the art, but I don't remember the card at all. For 2 red, it's an elemental. It's a 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Until your next turn, Amplifier's base power becomes twice that card's power, and its base toughness becomes twice that card's toughness. Put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library. So it's gonna do something, even if it's just become like a 0/2. Hopefully you're not playing any 0/1s in the deck with Amplifier, but
Yeah.
But it's another of those. It's a different flavor of the gamble card, I guess. That's all about the top of your deck having some effect on what's going on. And I love these sort of cards. Radiate, another one from chat. I don't even remember what Radiate does. Oh, okay. Yeah, once I saw the art, it clicked. For 3 red, it's from Torment. It's an instant. Choose target instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single permanent or player. Copy that spell for each other permanent or player the spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those permanents and players. So if someone's like... go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I tried to use Radiate once or twice. It's tough to keep 5 mana open, but I didn't have much success. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it was either something that you would use with your own, like, burn. Like, all right, Lightning Bolt that, and then Lightning Bolt everything. But then you're also... hitting yourself in the face and all the other things. So you would have to do it for, like, if there was something that said target opponent or target creature an opponent controls, you could radiate that. That would be pretty cool. But that's really expensive. And using it, like Brian said, keeping 5 mana open to use it as a response to someone else's thing.
It's a little rough.
But it's one of those cards that like tells a story, that gives you a story to tell.
Yes.
Like, oh my god, he was playing an artifact deck and he used Shatter to kill one of my things, and I went, radiate that, and he conceded because he was a bitch. Skytonic said, I've done Radiate and Path to Exile. That was fun. I can see that, because then you get all the lands out of your deck, right? Path to Exile grabs a land, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wait. Wait, Path says it's controller. Oh, so everybody grabs all the lands out of their deck.
Yes.
Oh, that's less good. Although it does speed the game up, that's for sure. Which in Commander sometimes is more important. And then there's the occasional card that doesn't do much. You guys remember Brand?
Yeah.
Yep. Which does less now? Because of the way that the token rules
tokens
work. Yeah.
So Brand for a single red was an instant gain control of all permanents you own. And thank goodness it had cycling of 2. So at least it could do something. But I get the feeling that was put there to counter something.
Yeah, just like, stop stealing my stuff.
Which it wouldn't surprise me if some playgroups get brands to put in decks just in case such and such plays that one deck. You know the one. Like, oh god, he's got a gimme deck. I'm gonna play Brand so he can't steal my stuff. But it's so incredibly narrow that it's like, why? But that's one of the glories of cycling. It's like, hey, what rare did you get in your pack? I got pay 2 to discard and draw a card. Oh. Huh. Oh man, kaboom. Hey, you remember when Braid of Fire was scary?
Yeah.
I do.
Braid of Fire is another one of those weird red rares that's not so weird anymore.
Because it might have killed you.
It
back
could
in
have
the
killed
day.
you. Yeah, for 1 in a red, it was an enchantment from Cold Snap. It said cumulative upkeep, add red to your mana pool. Which nowadays, you're like, and? There was no and. It's just add red to your mana pool. And the problem with that is that mana burn existed when this card was printed.
Yep.
And I used to wish that they hadn't gotten rid of mana burn, but as I've gotten older, I've realized mana burn's really dumb. It added an element of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an element of risk to getting lots of mana accumulated, or
The unnecessary anxiety.
yeah, it caused that, and potentially you could accidentally get killed. I think the reason I loved Mana Burn so much was because Brian and I won a game of Two-Headed Giant with it once. So
Yeah. Yeah. But
like back in the day, So wait, you couldn't carry this over from your upkeep to your main phase because the pool empties, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
your add red to your mana pool during your upkeep, you had to use during your upkeep, or else. And that's what's the word? Terrifying. If your mana sink got destroyed or something, your opponent could essentially just stall you out. Because otherwise, this says pay 1 life. Cumulative upkeep, pay 1 life. So this turn you take 1, next turn you take 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and then 6, and you're gonna die. But nowadays, it's just, here's a bunch of mana. Can you use it? Doesn't matter. Whatever. So at the time, this was a very much risk-reward card. Now it's just reward. The only thing is, do you have a use for this mana during your upkeep? If not, it's fine. It's not like Bitter Blossom. It's not gonna kill you.
Not anymore.
All right, chat has another one. Chaos Lance. What's that? Chaos, no chaos.
I thought we covered all the chaos spells by now.
I am
I
not
guess
getting
not.
Chaos Lance when I type it in. Chaos L gives me Chaos Lord.
Maybe they're trying to say Chaos Lace.
Oh,
That's part of a cycle that doesn't really count. Every color had one.
yeah. The laces were weird, and they lasted all the way to 4th edition. What the hell? But there was, the laces were a cycle of cards that said change the color of target spell or permanent to this color. And there was Chaos Lace for red, Pure Lace I think was white, Life Lace was green.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, that's all I got.
Thought
Death Lace?
Death Lace and Thought Lace, yeah.
Yeah, I had them all but Thought Lace. I'm proud of me for that, actually. Even though these being rare and just all of this was it's just so narrow and bizarre. And yet they had these forever. And there were a bunch of weird combos that you could use them for, obviously. But this and what was the magical hack? Which changed the text of target permanent or spell by replacing all instances of one basic land with another. And it says, for example, you could change Swamp Walk to Planeswalk. Hey!
Yes.
I think Mind Bend changed color words.
Whoops. Yeah, that's the one. And Mind Bend changed the text of target permanent by replacing one color word with another. So you could change Terror to say non-white to blow up something black. Or you could change...
I can't remember whether that actually helped you at the time, whether you were allowed to do that in time to target something that would be legal. Oh well.
Oh yeah, because this was after Interrupts went away. Because this wasn't printed until Mirage. Right? Were Interrupts still around in Mirage?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Really? When did they go away?
With the 6th edition rules update that was in place, I think, right before. I can't remember if it was right before or right after Urza's Destiny.
Oh wow, I didn't realize Interrupts lasted that long.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, never mind. Mind Bend's an instant. But you could change, for instance, Pro Red to Pro something else, so it was more better or less awful. Oh, wait. Mind Bend was color word or basic land type. Oh.
There was another one from the first set that was like there was magical hat and something else that I can't remember right now.
I can't
But
either, but that's the
we've
one I was
gotten
thinking of.
way off topic.
Yeah, sorry. That just came from Chaos Lace. So while Chaos Lace looks like a random awful red rare, it's actually a random awful cycle of rares.
Yes.
I can't believe they lasted all the way to 4th edition. That just... Wow. Buh. But I think that's pretty much all that I had.
And it's beyond what I had put. So.
Oh wait, no, there was one the thing from Mirrodin, the Beast, Arc something, Arc Slogger.
Arc Slogger.
Yeah, that's one of those other experiments with resource usage and also like kind of the short-sightedness thing. Arc Slogger is awesome. It was a real card back in the day.
It was.
For 3 red, it's a 4/5 beast. And it has an ability, pay 1 red, exile the top 10 cards of your library. That's the cost. Arc Slugger deals 2 damage to any target. So it's like, hey, here's a decent sized creature. And 4 shocks in your hand. Go for it.
Yeah. And it's super bizarre. Well, by today's standards and by standards at the time. But it's... it was very much, like Mike said, a real card.
Yeah.
As, like, the ability to finish off your opponent.
Yeah, and the first reaction is like, well, that's a lot of cards to just rip out of my library like that. But of course, the answer is not if you win the game before that becomes a problem.
It's true. The fact that removing the top 10 cards of your library from the game was a cost rather than an effect meant you couldn't just keep paying red and keep burning their face regardless of your library. It's like, as long as you die before it's my turn, it's fine. I wonder if you could use this with one of those, the guy who says if you have no cards in your library, you win.
Oh, Laboratory Maniac.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, you have to...
I love that guy.
You just have to make sure you have an exact multiple of 10 when you try to do the thing.
Well,
that's not too hard to do.
Since that deck always has other ways, like, it seems like this would just be a way to get you real close.
Yeah.
I don't know how that deck does it. Otherwise, there's probably a way that's way simpler, and I'm just an idiot. Because I don't...
Has Thassa's Oracle finally been banned yet in various formats, or not all of them yet?
Which one?
Thassa's Oracle, the most recent Laboratory Maniac that's been...
It was banned in something just recently.
That's having its Hulkamania run wild over everybody.
Let's see. Control F... No, not new tab. Jesus Christ. Control F... Thassa's Oracle was just banned in Historic in May.
Okay.
That is the only... It's the only place that it's been banned? Yeah. It's still legal in Pioneer and Modern and Legacy and Vintage.
Okay, I think they banned other cards in Pioneer and Modern to make it not so ridiculous.
I think so, yeah. But in Historic, I remember that, and yeah, that was just last month. They were like, nah. All right, then. But yeah, we had to talk about Arc Slogger, because Arc Slogger is super weird and awesome.
I found one more, and then I'm definitely going to call it, because...
What's that?
I'm falling asleep. It's Obstinate Familiar. For a single red, it's a 1/1 lizard. If you would draw a card, you may skip that draw instead. Doesn't say you have to. If it said you just do skip it, that would be something. But this, I guess, prevents you from losing to decking.
Yeah.
I remember opening one of these and going, what?
Again, It's a rare. And you're like, for those times when you were like, you can draw now, and you're like, I just don't want to.
Just
I
not.
just,
I'm just
I
not
just don't
feeling
feel
it.
like it.
Yep.
Look, in
You
another
know,
40 turns of this card drawing crap, I'm gonna lose. So I'm just gonna stop now.
you know what? So, Mike, I just had this thought, and
Uh-huh.
I'm not picking on you. I'm really not, but I legit want to know the answer to this question.
Does this
Force
involve force fruition?
fruition. Like, instead of drawing 7, you could just choose to draw 2, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Oh,
You had to know. I mean, like,
and look,
it's
this
this little
thing.
lizard's here to pump the brakes.
This thing has a rating of 3.758 with 60 votes. What?
Lizard. That's it. That's all I got. And I think with the time, I'm falling asleep, and Dirk is probably already asleep.
Close.
Oh my god. The first comment on this is you'll be glad you played it when your opponent plays their Consecrated Sphinx.
Yeah, but then you're still not drawing cards. Like, I mean, I get where they're coming from, but they're still going to be drawing off of everybody else's turns, and you're not drawing cards. That's the problem.
Ooh, Gilderbairn said in 2010, can you say Hellbent deck? Huh.
And there's somebody's talking about donating it, but you can still choose to draw. It says may.
Yeah, so that doesn't actually do anything. This is all very weird, and you know what? Obstinate Familiar is a great place to stop.
There you go.
But that's just some of. I think we covered most of the flavors, if not all of the flavors of the bizarre red rares. Of course, you've got your dragons and your phoenix and your burn spells. You've got all the good
Yeah.
cards, the goblins,
the good card.
Yeah, we know the good cards, but it's the weird ones, the ones
Yes.
that, like, I think it was Brian said at the beginning, when we do a mythic conscription, makes us go, oh god, like.
Yeah. How do you explain this card? And if you can just say, "Oh, it's a red rare," you know exactly what we're talking about.
So there you go. That was our ode to
I mean,
the bizarre
mean-
red cards.
I mean, how often do you go, "Oh, it's a green uncommon"? You know that's not a thing.
That's not a thing.
Not a thing. But a red rare, especially we've covered sorceries, but those enchantments tend to be the ones. So, and the lizards apparently.
And apparently. So, how about some final thoughts so y'all can go to bed?
Sorry.
That's a good one.
Yeah, actually, I didn't plan to do that. So sorry, I was gone for a couple weeks. It won't happen again, at least until next time. And this was fun, and I'm glad we got to talk about it. But I am also looking forward to next week, when we start covering the adventures in the Forgotten Realms, the D&D based set. And as you know, I've been playing more D&D with 2 of the 3 of these guys, and Sam's been enjoying it. So I actually recognize what some of the stuff is from, and I get to go, yay. And we'll get into that next week. So
Yeah, we will.
But I'm gonna go to bed because I got lots of work, and I may have a jury trial coming up soon. So everybody have a great night. It's good to talk to everybody again. And now I run away. Bye.
Whoa. You know we're going to be venturing into the dungeon next week?
We are. Does that mean we need to crawl into the table?
You gotta be aware of the darkness.
You know what? I'm going to have a Mountain Dew when we do the show next week. So how about you, Dirk?
My final thoughts are, I don't really have any particular one. My brain is just all over the place. Yeah, I don't have a specific final thought or anything like that. Um, red, r- there's a reason why I don't really play red, and this is part of that reason why, because it's just wacky, weird, crazy stuff that red falls into. I have tried to build a red deck before, and I was gonna build Furnace of Wrath into it just for the chaos, and I had kind of an idea of I wanted to do, but then it was just like, but this isn't really what I want to do with the deck, and so I never really did build my mono red Furnace of Wrath deck or anything like that, and haven't had the inclinations to build a deck of that sort since. So in terms of red rares and everything, I it has to be mixed in with something else for me to have to play it. But I do know that there are plenty of people who love their red rares and the mayhem it brings. So
Brian.
that
Oh,
is
he
my
left.
final thought for tonight. You guys have a wonderful night.
Night, Zerk. How about you, Mike?
Um,
I agree.
we
Oh,
well, sorry, I couldn't figure out where to start. Um, yeah, one of my favorite commander decks that I built is based around one of these weird red rares, Fumiko the Low Blood, and it's kind of like, okay, everybody, you're gonna get into this game whether you like it or not. You have to do stuff, and it's got some other effects in there like that too. And I like that when it's like you're not just disrupting someone, you're making stuff happen. You know, you're not just making someone discard things or killing their creatures. It's like you're making combat happen, and the game is actually moving forward, you know, not advancing in the way some people would like, and sometimes it could backfire, but that's okay because it's usually fun. Um, and that's also part of red, you know, just what playing red means. Sometimes it might backfire, but it's okay. Most of the time it's fun.
freaking. Everybody got to attack. Shut up, Fumiko. Hmm. Yeah. This does
Yeah,
make
that's
me want to build some sort of dickhead deck just to play once when we all get back together so you guys will be like, you know what? We don't want to play with you anymore. And then I won't feel bad about not playing Magic anymore. I mean, what? Nothing. But yeah, there's just a lot of weirdness because poor Red slice of the color pie leads to well, if they were people, if these cards were people, we would say bless their heart, you know, here in the South. Like, oh, bless. But as for other final thought stuff, well, there's the Patreon. You can join at patreon.com/the mana pool to become a pooligan. I I've hit like a not like a mental block. Well, I guess it is mental, but I've hit a block on the MCU rewatch project before it even starts because okay, this is going to sound weird. I have a hard time starting something that's completely new until I like get everything ironed out. You know, perfection is the enemy of good enough, or however that goes. How does that go, Mike? I can't
Wait,
remember.
somehow I lost track of it.
But like, I don't want to start it until I get everything figured out, and so I keep
Uh,
like rereading the script, and I actually came in here and sat down and got everything all set up to actually start recording for the first time for the announcement video, and it like when I turned on the recording stuff and looked at it, I went, "Oh, I look like crap." Because for those of you that don't come to the streams, I look like crap. I gotta do something with my hair. Like, it is everywhere, and it's not attractive. And it's giving me serious, like, self-esteem issues, which for someone, an ego my size, is just unreal. But I know that once I get started, it'll all fall into place, and I'll, roll with it. But it's a matter of getting over that first hump, which I guess this is totally a mental block. So yeah, apologies for that and the lack of YouTube content, because most of what I've been streaming lately isn't good for YouTube content, and I keep forgetting about Final Fantasy. I still have the last Final Fantasy stream that I haven't touched again because I completely forgot I had it. So I found it, but I've also been working on odds and ends and just working on real life nonsense here around the apartment and whatnot. So that's why all that has stopped. But once I get going, though, it's gonna go. It's gonna be awesome. But I do still stream all the time here on Twitch. Like here lately, I've been streaming. Let's see, I streamed Hades for I think 7.5 hours on Saturday last week. Whew, that was fun. I've been playing Hitman. I just finished Doom 2, which means next up I'll be starting Doom 64, which I'm very excited about because I've never played it, and it's not just Doom for the 64. It's a different game, and it's got a different engine, and all the enemies look different, and the weapons look and sound different, and I'm very excited to get out of Doom and Doom 2, which looks the same. Sure, we got the super shotgun and a bunch of new enemies in Doom 2, but it was still the same damn game, which I know Doom 64 is too, but at least it looks different. And then I'll do Doom 3, which is entirely different in every way. And then I'll do Doom 2016, which is also more like Doom 1 and 2, but entirely different in every way at the same time. Yeah. So I'm very excited about finishing the Doom franchise run. And I have all kinds of other stuff I want to stream whenever I can, and yay. So yeah. But going back to Patreon, you can sign up to become a lifeguard, which gets you early access to anything I do release, especially the MCU stuff. Once it gets rolling, I'm going to need eyes on it to tell me, hey, this is stupid, or hey, that part wasn't funny, or hey, that was highly offensive, you idiot. I'll be like, it was? Oh crap, I need y'all to look out for me. So you'll get early access to all of those once I start making them, so you're going to be in my test audience. Be like, hey, no, that won't work, please reword that. Oh, okay, sorry. What do you mean I can't say that word? I didn't know that word was bad. Okay, just while we're on words that you can't say, there's a character in Heroes of the Storm who, now his name escapes me, Abathur, the slug. And for some reason, I don't want to call Abathur Abby. And so my brain just puts an O sound on the end instead of an E sound on the end. And that's a slur. And I keep saying, luckily I don't stream that game, but like I'll be playing with Gothic and oh no, they have a, and Gothic will be like, I'm like, damn it. Sorry, Abby, they've got a slug. Damn it, it's a slug. And so yeah, to keep an eye out for things like that. Cause I'm not aware of all of the things that are not appropriate at all times, clearly. But anyway, so you can get that. You get the odds and ends. I'm pumping out the odds and ends at a semi-regular basis now. All of the Monday Night Magics and all of the mana pools up until the one after the last Monday Night Magic have been started. They've had like the first, I think, 3 or 4 steps of turning it into an audio file and then listening to it done to it. So that's cool. I just have to finish putting them together and then listen to each one and post it. So, but that goes quickly. So yay. And of course you get the sponsorship shout out at the end of each episode and in the odds and ends, or the odds and ends, the end screen for the YouTube videos. I can say words, theoretically. Yeah. So let me just read these. Thank you to Al, Kim Ho, Scuzzo, John Parker, Jake Jansen's, Mike. Hey, that's you. Team You Hellas, how are you? PJ McMullen, Violet Moon, The Beast Father, Aaron Goodwine, Jason Kaus, Andrew Hunt, Aleph Cat, Cody Buckowing, Casey, Jeff Spencer, Gothic Man, Jason Doan, Mr. Dr. Lewis, Connor Kennedy, Stan. He still never told me how to say his last name. And ALK Alters. Thank you all so very much for your support. And I love you all. And thank all of you for listening. I'm going to shut up now because I just realized this has turned into a long episode. So thank you all so very much for joining us. And go gamble with some red rares.